The end of the crisis engulfing Colombia's peace talks came into sight on November 19th, with the announcement by the negotiations' guarantor countries that 5 people recently captured by the FARC will be released in the near future. That news was welcomed by observers, who have urged for some form of de-escalation as the government continues to reject the possibility of a bilateral ceasefire.
These crises cause a loss of credibility. There are groups who take advantage of it to say we should end the process, or that we should put impossible conditions on it. I think we must continue to seek a de-escalation of the conflict while the process advances. A final formula should be sought out for a ceasefire. Until that happens, we should look for humanitarian understanding.
Among those being released are General Ruben Dario Alzate and 2 companions, whose capture in the western region of Chocó triggered the crisis. 2 soldiers detained earlier this month in the northeastern region of Arauca are also being released. The Red Cross in Colombia will oversee the transfer, but warned the inhospitable nature of the regions they are held in makes a timeline for completion impossible.
Because of that complexity, that coordination, we cannot risk speaking about timeframes. But we do reiterate our commitment to carry it out with the greatest speed possible while guaranteeing the success of this operation, so that above all, these people can return to their families soon. We understand that they are being waited for, they are needed.
It now seems the supporters of the peace and victims of the conflict who oppose the suspension will see the rapid resolution to the crisis they have called for in recent days. With the release of the 5 now only a matter of time and logistics, the question facing President Juan Manuel Santos is whether he forges on with the advancing talks or sticks to his original determination that they will not restart until General Alzate is liberated. Charles Parkinson, Telesur in Bogotá, Colombia.
The day began with an assembly of social organizations demanding justice for Ayotzinapa and sharing solidarity with family of the disappeared students. For Rafael, father of disappeared Julio Cesar, that widespread solidarity helps him carry on.
They uplift us, embrace us, console us, and they say they feel the same pain. They say, your pain is our pain.
And the expression is not rhetoric, as Mexican families have suffered thousands of disappearances since the period of the dirty war of the 1970s through to the so-called drug war of today.
In
Guerrero, there have been more than 600 forced disappearances during the period of the so-called Dirty War.
And it is this collective pain that has made thousands take to the streets, calling for justice that includes, but goes beyond, Ayotzinapa.
It seems to me that this country is in mourning. There is too much death and too much blood that has been spilled into the streets from north to the south.
Yet some say they are hopeful that the widespread anger and pain can be turned into something that spawns real social change.
We're not just 1 nor 100. It's true that now the people have awoken and we've begun to remember.
The next major actions are being organized for December 1st, a call for yet another nationwide strike and ultimately justice for Ayotzinapa. Clayton Khan, Telesur, Mexico City.
Just hours before his presidential decree powers were set to run out, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro announced another string of laws, all aimed at delivering a definitive blow to corruption in the country.
Con esta ley habilitante se crea el Cuerpo Nacional.
With this presidential decree law, the National Anti-Corruption Body will be created, a vital institution in order to gain cohesion between 3 areas: cultural and educational ethics, legal institutions, and investigative and penal policing.
The new laws make way for extensive reform to the police force as well as to the management of public contracts, which will see funding diverted from the private sector and channeled directly to communities. Earnings from confiscated smuggled goods will also be invested into locally run projects.
Why am I happy about it? I'll tell you. This is an economy where they have done everything possible to break it. And so the president has to find a way to confront that so that we can start enjoying our income.
The economic and anti-corruption offensive comes after a year which the government has described as the most difficult yet for the Bolivarian revolution. It's been marked by an economic war, fought by private sector speculation and the hoarding of basic products such as milk.
I think that the president has been forced by the power of events, the smuggling, the scarcity of food, problems in productivity, to make this kind of adjustments through the force of the enactment law.
A total of 56 laws have been passed by presidential decree since the country's parliament granted the president the executive powers for a period of 12 months last November. Rachel Boothroyd with Telesur in Caracas, Venezuela.
Cuerpo Nacional Anticorrupción.
On Thursday night, we saw a brief glimpse into the details of President Obama's long-awaited executive action on immigration reform. According to the plan, which was announced in a primetime televised speech, immigrants living in the United States for at least 5 years will be able to temporarily stay in the country as long as they register, pass a criminal background check, and pay taxes. Now, with 11 million undocumented immigrants currently living in the United States, this plan would temporarily, for now, protect them from the immediate threat of deportation, and many of those are parents of U.S. citizen children born here in the United States or children who are legal permanent residents. President Obama did not allude to how long that temporary protection would endure. Now, surprising to no one, while Latino leaders praised the announcement as a landmark victory, Republicans immediately reacted much in the same way that they have for the past few months before this announcement, saying that the plan is illegal, unconstitutional, and that they will take whatever action they have in their power to block the order once they take control of both houses of Congress in January. In St. Louis, I'm Alexandra Hall for Telesur. At Metro Shooting Supplies just outside of St. Louis, first-time customers are buying home defense shotguns and pistols at 3 times the normal rate. People like Jerry, who didn't want to share her last name because she lives just blocks away from the Ferguson police station, a major focal point for protests as the community waits for a verdict.
The protesters sing that song, you think it's a joke, think it's a game. Well, I bought a pink 9mm, but it's not a joke or a game, so just saying.
But her biggest concern isn't the local protesters who are planning nonviolent civil disobedience if Officer Darren Wilson gets off without an indictment.
Think of who's coming, from what I heard on the internet and everywhere else. New Black Panthers. I've met some of them, seen some of them protesting, and Ku Klux Klan, and Anonymous.
Jerry is only one of about 50 residents who will buy a gun this week. Although riots and unrest sparked by Michael Brown's death in August were largely restricted to Ferguson, gun range owners say this time is different.
This time there's been 3 months of people telling you, you better be prepared, because if we don't get what we want, all hell's going to break loose.
As nearly 3 million people in the greater St. Louis area wait on edge for a grand jury decision, what's boosting sales is a fear of the unknown, fear that can only be quelled by news that's soon to come. Alexandra Hall, Bridgeton, Telesur.